The US dollar has now lost more than 10% of its value this year, making it the worst first half in almost 40 years. We are also seeing the JP 10-year Japanese government bond yields rise, getting a spike today up 3.5%. And we had jobless claims come out, rising 1.97 million, estimated 1.95 and previously 1.973. We're also seeing major stocks like Nvidia as well as JP Morgan hit all-time highs and continue to press higher. Guys, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Watch until the end of the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn post notifications on. And before we get into my outlook on this market, what I did, as well as GameStop and another short squeeze play. Speaking of stocks hitting all-time highs, analysts are buzzing about this cancer research stock, this breakthrough in cancer therapy. And this is one that I wanted you to take a look at. It's up about 11%. It's trading only at 76 cents right now. And analysts are expecting it to go a lot higher, with the minimum price target of $3.06 up 300%, $3.90 up 411%, and 565% to the upside at $5.07. A very brief breakdown of this company. They are a biotech clinical stage company working on a virus-based immunotherapy called PaleraPrep. My apologies. Instead of trying to kill tumors directly, PaleraPrep helps the immune system recognize and attack cancer, basically priming the immune response, especially in hard to treat cancers like breast, pancreatic, and anal. Now, what's interesting is that it's shown strong early results in phase 2 trials. Now, this is important here because a lot of these companies don't even make it to phase 2 trials, let alone show good results in phase 2 trials. So now it's becoming one that you have to put on your radar. On top of that, before we even go down the list very briefly, the big change at the leadership level is they recently brought in Jared Kelly as a CEO. Now, this is the same Jared Kelly that helped sell Ambrx to Johnson & Johnson for $2 billion, now using possibly the same data and deal strategy here with this company as well. So overall, a lot of opportunity in this play. In HR plus HER2 breast cancer, patients saw a 76% improvement in overall survival. Now, this is a sponsored stock. I don't take these unless I like what the company is doing or the company is doing well. And I love that the company is helping people and are actually finding results in it. On top of that, in first-line metastatic pancreatic cancer, the overall response rate was 62%, which is really impressive for that indication. Now they're seeing consistent immune activation with T cells and NK cells showing up in tumors that were previously cold or immune resistant. They've also got collaborations with Merck and PanCan, which is a major patient advocacy group in pancreatic cancer. That kind of backing gives credibility to both science and the trial design. Now, all of that out of the way, you know what the company does, you know what's interesting about the company, you know what the leadership has done. In terms of what is coming in the second half of 2025, they're expecting a pancreatic cancer data readout and also starting a registrational breast cancer study. Then early next year, we could see interim survival data, which may open the door to accelerated approval if the trends hold. And on top of that, if you go down the line, despite all of that, right, Oncolytics still has a market cap under $70 million, which is a tiny company, especially compared to peers, which makes it an early stock to put on your radar. And especially for a company with multiple phase 2 trials and pharma partnerships, some analysts are obviously expecting that the stock is going to go much higher. Even higher than the expectations that I actually showed you on the chart, 5 being the moderate to low end. Okay. Bottom line, they got late stage data, M&A tested CEO, strong survival signals, and a pretty low evaluation, in my personal opinion. Nothing I say is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And yeah, it's definitely one to put on your radar. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let's get into the S&P 500. It's trading at 610.74. The all-time highs for the SPY was about 613, almost 613.50. And the Qs are at all-time highs right now, 544.47, leading the sector as big money is buying back into tech stocks. Now, we do have earnings season coming up, and we have a summer, which July, I believe, we are expecting to see some sort of bullish market, July, August. Now, tariffs are going to come into effect July 9th, which is a couple weeks away. I want to talk about what's going on with the SPY. Back here, during this whole May sell-off right here, as well as this correction here, big money was shorting the stock market. Now, what had happened, I'm going to explain this, try to stick with me. What had happened from shorts right here, leading into, let me make this yellow so that we can see, leading into 602. So when they were shorting between 595 all the way down to 575, and we came up to 600, 602, this is likely where short covering started to begin to actually trigger. Now, how did we come up from 575 to 602, 604, right? This is because of how weighted the option chain was on 1-0 DTE, but weekly call contracts as well, as market makers begin to basically create a never-ending feedback loop, which we saw with GameStop. And the SPY is almost in a gamma squeeze as well as short squeeze. Now, I believe this second wave of covering right here, well, actually the only wave of covering, in my opinion, was not retail. I think the past few days was big money as we saw gap ups. I believe shorts began to cover right here. Now, what's next? Lottery stocks, what's next if shorts covered and got out of their short positions on the SPY? We didn't see anything with GameStop. And is this going to continue to go higher, break all-time highs? I'll tell you my strategy right here that I alerted Discord about. As gamma exposure fades, likely end of week based on the option chain, as well as end of next week based on the option chain. We also have a catalyst coming out tomorrow on Friday. I assume, and again, you can't be right on all of these, okay? I'm expecting the gamma exposure to fade as shorts also got out. And next week, coming into next Friday, we see a sell-off on the market. On top of that, when we enter into next week, June 30th, we have the following week where tariffs come into effect. I assume over these next 2 weeks, as we get close to GameStop's July 18th expiration, we are going to see sell-off in the market as well as a peak on GameStop. But until then, I do still expect GameStop to climb into that peak as the SPY begins to sell off. Ultimately, I'm playing puts on the SPY. If you want to know the exact strike prices as well as expiration dates, make sure to join my Discord server. It's top link in the description. But we're playing the gamma exposure fading as well as shorts possibly out of the positions, and this momentum being crushed very quickly into next week, possibly the week after. However, Lottie stocks, what happens if you're wrong? If the SPY breaks past 615 on Monday and continues to move, gets close to a close above 615 on Monday, I will cut the short bias for a loss, okay? You can't win every position. Sometimes you have to take risks. Taking a risk playing against the trend is always, always, always extremely risky. So again, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Do your own due diligence. Nothing I say is financial advice. Now, GameStop is reporting almost a 20% short interest over on Fintel. We know it's much greater than that. At least one can only assume. But this is very similar to the last time we saw the convertible bond offering come down right here. Stock bottomed out and the short interest rose dramatically. That is because of the delta hedging that the bondholders did, as well as other short sellers taking advantage of the stock. So now we're here in sort of the same scenario. And again, this is what I don't like. Everyone is anticipating a move up and a move higher, which most of the time when a bunch of retail anticipates something, we get a crackdown. However, I will state, if the stock price goes any lower, right, any lower than 21 bucks, I don't know how that's happening or see how that's happening, as the company has more cash on hand to buy back the entire float below that share price. Again, I've said it, I'll say it again, even without a short squeeze, I do believe this is almost a guaranteed play, medium to long term. However, on top of that, one, I will state GMEU. We talked about it being on the threshold securities list. It's still on the threshold securities list, and in fact has a short position of 1.8 million shares out of 2.6 million. Now, these shares, GameStop, we talked about it as well, on top of GMEU, on top of other ETFs that hold both, as well as IWM on AMC. These have to be covered, and in a specific time period. Now, during this specific time period, we are and should see a gap up because of FTD covering, but a gap up of the mechanical engineering of the market makers' positions, where after the convertible bond notes, they dealt a hedge, and then basically these positions get dealt with on top of the FTD covering. So there's a very unlikely scenario, an unlikely world where we don't see a gap up in GameStop's share price. That is my personal opinion. However, to be quite safe, I have jumped into more leaps on GameStop. And as of right now, obviously down a substantial amount on the July 18th expirations, and I think it will come close. As far as the July 18th expiration dates, a lot of people are probably down there as well. If we are going to see some sort of short squeeze, it has to begin now or next week, because it's not going to peak until probably right on your expiration almost, okay? Now, where would that peak? And even then, that's a tight window, right? That is a very tight window. That is giving you about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, okay, from today to peak. So we have to begin a short squeeze next week, in my opinion, to peak. And will you still make money? Well, if you're expecting the stock to still go above $60, in which case, if we get a short squeeze, it should go well above that, then yes, you'll still make a shitload of money, even though expiration is very close, as long as you're already in the contracts. Okay, I just want to put that out there. Maybe that'll give you a little bit of hope, a little bit of relaxation. Now, GNS is something we've talked about, which continued to rip today, up another 37%, now trading above $1. They had a lawsuit against short sellers, and this one has been called out. People have made money in it on Discord, but it just seems that it is not over. You want to watch for a volume fade today. Clearly, their position against naked short selling was accurate, because it seems as if there is more short covering than reported on the stock. Now, they also approved a special dividend in Bitcoin for purchase from legal proceedings. The company now has 2 legal cases that are seeking over $1 billion in damages. And then on top of that, their borrow rate for the stock increased to 113, almost 114%. And last week it was 18%. So there's no shares available to short, and the cost to borrow to short is insanely high. So when short sellers, think about taking a position, they have to be very, very confident at what level they're taking that position at. Now, it broke above $1. Where could we go from here? Short, simple answer, $1.27. There's a major order block between $1.27 and $1.50, and there's another order block at $1.86. Depending on how crazy this momentum gets, how high could GNS actually go? Well, this thing has seen squeezes that were much, much greater than what we're seeing right now. So there's no way to actually pinpoint and put your finger on exactly how high this can go, because just in 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, the stock ran 2,500% back in early 2023. So again, you never know how high this one can go. Just keep it on your radar. On top of that, we've been talking about Chewy way back, but ever since it broke above 40.80, it's slowly been creeping higher after it gapped all the way up to 48.60, gap lower, slowly been climbing higher. Keep a side eye on Chewy as well. But overall, guys, check the top link in the description. Let me know your thoughts on ONCY in the comments down below, this penny stock. Make sure to get in the Discord, guys, all that other stuff. I love you all. God bless. Lottery Stocks out.